The marks of a man who lacks self-control. They are predictably overconfident and underexperienced. This is the young guy at the office. You've been there for 20 years. You have earned your way up the corporate ladder. You have received the appropriate recognition and benefits for your longevity. And he was hired 6 months ago, and he thinks he knows your job better than you know your job, and it frustrates him to no end that he's getting paid less than you get paid. They are overconfident, but they're underexperienced. He thinks that he both can and should always control others, everyone around him. Undisciplined young men are control freaks. They will tell you what to do and when to do it and what not to do and why you're so stupid you don't understand it all. They speak much and they listen little. A mark of maturity is when you suddenly come to the point, as we said last week, where you realize that the divine Creator gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth and expects us to use them proportionately. And young men speak much, they listen little. They have a tendency to react to life rather than act. They're not much for strategic thinking and planning and preparation, but they go off like a rocket anytime anything bumps into them or anything surprises them. Their typical response is one of harshness and insensitivity. A young man lacking self-control will frequently conclude that jerking a small child by one arm and dragging them out of the grocery store is an appropriate intervention. And if they don't physically react with that kind of violence, their stares could rip the heart out of you. They speak harshly. They don't feel what you feel. And when their spouse would have the audacity to say, you have no idea what that sounds like, they will silence her because they conclude she doesn't know either. They make threats rather than enable. They don't help anyone do things. They simply say, if you don't, then I will. Their spouses always fear when they get a hold of the family debit card because they have a tendency to spend money manically. They can come up with an excuse or an explanation for every expenditure. A young man who has not yet developed self-control is predictably unpredictable. You're always walking on eggshells around them. There is a landmine buried under every sand bluff, and you're never quite sure what you're going to do to trip the trigger and to face the explosion. They live their lives with a short fuse, and they lose their temper predictably and frequently. Not yet developed self-control. A man who has not yet developed the spirit control of self-control has a short fuse, and anything will set us off. He believes that gaining control, and controlling is his thing, that gaining control can be accomplished by increasing the volume. And I've never understood why it is that those of us without self-control think that if we scream, would you just shut up and get control of yourself, that they actually will help the situation. I've never quite understood that. That seems to be how we function. They tend to overindulge in all things, even good things. They don't know quite when that portion was sufficient, or that many Mountain Dews in a day was enough, or it's just that they excess on everything. They're the guys that buy 200 plus TV channels because there may be some sport they play down under some place that they might be missing out on, and so all weekend long they are just totally vegged out on sports and food and stuff like that. These are the kind of guys that quite predictably lose the battle with their own flesh. Their passion is to conquer the world around them and control everyone, but they discover on occasion after occasion that their greatest enemy is themselves. And they're like a city, as Solomon says, that is easily broken into. They seldom seek advice, and they rarely consider the counsel received. They already know it all. If they didn't know it all, they're pretty sure you don't know anything, and therefore, why would they listen to you? They have a tendency to make their decisions quickly and most frequently unwisely. They have a tendency to overreact in virtually any situation. The man that lacks this self-control has to interject his wisdom. They are always impatient with processes. There's just no time for anything. They want freedoms and liberties and rights before they're old enough to have those. And if anyone would have the audacity to say no to them for any reason, they will either run over you or find 3 ways to run around you, but they simply can't endure processes. And these are the kind that tend to wish time away. In 6 months from now, a year from now, they've always got these master schemes that never seem to become a reality. There's always something out there, so they can't live today. And the other side is you've got this self-control problem where somebody can't restrain themselves. There's a flip side to that, and it's the guy that can't get off his rear end and get anything started. So he doesn't have enough self-discipline just to get it up in the morning and get it going. And you always have to put them in situations where they have employer accountability, because you can't entrust them with anything because you're not sure they'll ever get around to doing it. And if they do, they won't stay with it long enough to finish it. They're resistant to and resentful, basically, of any authority other than their own. Now, that doesn't paint a very pretty picture.